Morning, folks. It's a Friday morning using RazoRock Tuscan Oud. This is a 5-ounce container, 150 milliliters, I think it is. That's what soap looks like on the inside, and it's fairly soft. Really nice scent. I'll put a scent description down below from the website, but it mentions, I think, like a sweet tobacco, maybe flower, something along those lines. Allen Block, no rubber band this morning. Yeah, I probably should. Humphrey's witch hazel. Got a few menthol crystals in there. Decided to spice it up just a little bit. And also got the matching aftershave here. And I might be wrong, but this bottle feels different than some of my others that I've had in the past. Like that might be a new bottle, new style, if you will. I got it whipped up here in a wooden bowl from the Instinctive Goat, made out of walnut, and whipped up with a brush. This is an old brush, old in that it's vintage, as well as the knot. And see if I can get it. It's pronounced Opal as opposed to Opal, and that number down there is number 12. So it's got a bore knot in it, so it's a little bit on the scritchy side, if you will. Got the Preshave soap here from Phoenix Artisan Accoutrements. Still got some left. It's unscented, but it is mentholated. And now we're getting to the part where I'm trying to keep it all straight in my head here, how I want to say all this stuff. This past week, I have, this being Friday, see, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I guess it would be, I have been attempting to learn how to face lather. And I think I've discovered more or less the same thing along the same lines as bowl lathering, that different kinds of knots lather differently. You can achieve the same result. It just may take a little bit different method, if you will. And I've been using the soap I've been using, I guess you might say practicing with, shaving with. This is what I've been using. And I've been trying to get a handle on face lathering. And my very first one this week, the first lather I worked up was a bit on the thick side. Thick, I would almost say dry. Definitely wasn't wet enough. It worked out just fine, but it just, you know, for my liking, it was not wet enough. And then so I started to leave a little bit more water in the brush or add some to the tips, trying to adjust that soap water ratio. I find it interesting that I have a harder time doing that on my face than I do in a bowl. It just, in a way, just kind of blows my mind, knowing how to face lather versus bowl lathering. That I find the bowl lathering a lot easier for me to do. But I'm keeping working at it because I think, you know, eventually I'll figure out, for instance, what size knot, what kind of knot works best for me when it comes to face lathering. And eventually, if I keep on working at it, I'll get much better at it, about like bowl lathering. It did take me a little while. And I also tinkered with using, as it goes for Preshave soap, as well as using coconut oil, making my attempt to trying to figure out what's going to work best for me, especially if I plan on using this when I'm traveling, vacation, and that sort of thing. Shaver a day. This is Schick EverSharp Hydro Magic. This particular model here has got the little lever here. Drops this down so you can clean in there a lot easier. Very nice shaver. So I've got, this will be what? I think like the 4th shave, 5th shave on this blade. But this is pretty close, this lather right now. It's pretty close where I like it. And I got my first shave, you know, like I say, it was dry. It was thick like this. Not that this is very thick for most folks, but for me this is fairly thick. It was thick like this, but it was also on the dry side. And there was plenty of water left in the brush. I mean, in other words, water was coming out, had water going everywhere, but I wasn't getting lather everywhere. So I've got some work to do. But it was, I guess you might say, a good learning experience. Didn't get bad shaves either. In other words, everything went pretty smooth. Oh, the blade in here is also a Personna. But it's been kind of interesting. Learning how to face lather. And as it goes for what noticeable difference did I notice in between using coconut oil and Preshave soap, probably the biggest thing that I noticed is more on the post end of it as opposed to the pre-shave. During the shave I really didn't notice that much of a difference, but it was more on the post end. My face felt a lot different. And with the coconut oil, in other words, my face felt, you say, not near as dry, if you will. Not that it felt that dry with the Preshave soap. Not that it has a whole lot to do with the rest of the shave. But I thought trying to be consistent with the soap, but using different pre-shaves to see what kind of difference that may or may not be there. It really depends on what you're wanting to use and what I guess you might say, what works best for you. As it goes for the oil getting into the brush, I rotate my brushes in and out quite a bit, so I don't really have that kind of issue with it. How can you say, gunking up my brush, or if I have to clean it more often or anything like that, I rotate them out well enough that that's not going to be an issue. But if you were using just one or two brushes, maybe there might be an issue after an extended period of time. But if you're cleaning your brushes every so often anyway, it becomes a non-issue. I just noticed that, you know, with using, when I was working with it, the coconut oil seemed to have ended up with a better post-shave feel. Just a little bit of feedback this morning. I think that has a lot to do with the number of shaves on this blade. Because earlier on I didn't have quite the feedback I'm getting this morning. This shaver is pretty easy to use. It's one of those things I'd like when I'm using the stick soap like that, to try to use a shaver that's easy to use, that I'm accustomed to use and easy to work with. I might point out once again, in case you're unfamiliar with these kind of designs on these handles, you'll notice that design they use it quite often. Being beveled like that or at an angle is just perfect for putting your little finger underneath there to help with control of the blade and the shaver. This is pretty inexpensive soap. I probably should mention there's a RazoRock's got a few of their soaps on sale, a few bundles, as it goes for the aftershave and soap. Scent's still present, so in some cases some of RazoRock's scents have been, I guess you might say, on the light side, especially for my nose, but this one here is definitely present. I like this. I like Ouds. Ouds, this is pretty nice scent. I like it. And the soap, you know, in other words, working with it on my face, it feels pretty creamy. Like I said, this is a pretty, for me it's an easy shaver to use. Practicing with the stick soap, that's one thing I felt like I needed to use something that I was familiar with. For me it's easy to find the angle with an injector. One of these is pretty easy to find. I did start out with, I should mention, I had one Schick blade left, one. And I started to put it in there, and you could already see there's a flat spot on the blade. And I don't know what it is about Schick blades, but I just don't have the luck with them. I really do wonder if it has more to do with when they're loading them up in a dispenser, if that's where the issue is coming from. I don't know if been looking at cameras too, trying to find one that where you can mount a mic on top so that the audio would come through a lot better. Still trying to research it. It's not the easiest thing to research either. In other words, is there a camera that's made out there that's not going to break the bank, where you can don't have to have another external mic in order to get the audio that you're looking for? But that was thunder. If it didn't pick it up, that's what I was listening to. It's supposed to rain today. I think up till 12, 1 o'clock, something like that's pretty good chances. For Oklahoma, we've been getting a lot of rain. Now I have to say that my face feels pretty good, as goes for a post-shave feel. So in other words, sometimes that has a lot to do with the soap you're using. As opposed to anything to do with pre-shave. Some more thunder there. Tony does not like that. I'm surprised he's not over here banging on the door. Yeah, he's not a big fan of storms. Talking about a big chicken. He's been doing pretty good. He hasn't been quite as mischievous. The only thing he's done is we have our windows open still. Hadn't turned the air conditioner on just yet. Anyway, my daughter has her window open and the curtains pulled back. And she opened the door and Tony saw that window open and he tried to bolt to go through that window. He loves being outside. He does not know any strangers. Everybody seems to be his friend. Cat, another dog, doesn't matter. Tony's our German Shepherd, by the way. But he's quite a character. Like I said, I put some crystals, and my next shave will be with soap from Wet the Face Cold Fusion that has menthol crystals in it. And some of those menthol crystals, you know, Don mentioned if you hadn't seen his video, the menthol crystals, some of them would be laying on the top, which that was another one of those reasons why I bought that soap, is because I wanted the menthol crystals, some of them off the top, to put in here. So in other words, I do two things with one. Now when I was smelling this earlier, put some in this one here that's citrus in it, and then some crystals in the witch hazel, Humphrey's witch hazel that's unscented. And dramatic difference in how the witch hazel smelled before and after. And there's just enough in there that you can tell that this is methylated. It's not heavy methylated, in other words. Not heavy on the menthol, just enough to know that it's there. And it's nice. Wow, I really enjoy that cooling effect. Matter of fact, I'm thinking about later on this, when it gets a little warmer, do a number of shaves with different soaps that are mentholated, that are spearmint, or something along those lines that has a cooling effect. Because there's a number of different ones out there. It's just a matter of sometimes just hunting them down, figuring out which one works best for you. Here we go. And if you're unfamiliar with RazoRock's aftershaves, that's what the restrictor looks like. As it goes for the bottle, what feels different about it is on the sides. It feels like there's a, which runs the full length of the bottle, it feels like there's a, like a little notch or a bump to make it easier perhaps to hang on to the bottle right here. I don't know if you can see any of that, but just right there it comes out just a little bit. It feels like it's like I say, just maybe there's a feature to help hold on to the bottle when your hands are wet. I think I'm going to put some more of this on. I like Oud. Figaro, I guess is probably the best way to describe Figaro in the way of gold, where people will understand which one I'm talking about. In other words, that gold container. That soap and aftershave is one of my favorites. That's an awesome setup right there. Smells great. This is pretty, I'm glad I got this. I probably waited too long. Had a great shave this morning. Hope everybody's doing well. I'll try to stay dry with the rain. Stay safe and smooth shaves to you.